this happens to be February birthday month. Well, not only was the fabulous me born on the Friday, February 14th, and number one son born on Saturday, he was born on February 15th. Today, I'd like to honor Sir Squinty Eyes. Dun, dun, dun. There is my littlest, my youngest, my baby, on this fateful day, 23 years ago. As I woke up, I was hungry as heck, and I went into labor, and I burnt the sausage while his dad was doing trees. And so, to my sons, Sir Squinty Eyes, and to the oldest, Jeremiah Gavin Stone Ritter, Joshua Ritter, happy birthday, my sons. I love you to death. You're the blessings of my life. And that's all, folks.
I don't think so.
No?
He's 23 years old. I don't know if we need to sing happy birthday to him or not.
Where's the cake at?
Now the oldest one's not till after.
There we go.
Today.
Hello.
Hold on there. Now today is his birthday. Valentine's Day is my old lady's birthday. The day after that is my oldest son's birthday.
Guess whose birthday it is today as well?
Who?
Our friend and your friend, Rick Luna.
Oh boy, Rick
Rick
Luna,
Luna, happy
Rick Luna.
birthday.
Did you notice?
Yeah, we know the sheriff. We approve of the sheriff. Anyway, Michael.
McNamara.
Yeah, Mike McNamara running for county
Does he have a
commissioner.
card?
Oh,
Does he have a
Oh.
card?
do you have a car
Do
with
I
your
have a
info on it?
card with my info on it?
Yeah. I already emailed you the info. We gonna have it up?
I didn't bring any with
Mike McNamara,
Well, then talk about for a few
Travis
minutes,
County
I'll tell you
Judge candidate,
Yeah.
for the Republican Party anyway. We did try to get some of your opponents from the Democrat side up, but neither one of them would come on. One of them politely said no, and the other one just says she got too busy. But yeah, I have worked with Sherry Eckhart before. We helped her win against Karen Sunliner.
I see.
That was years past anyway.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, Gabriel's still gone again, but still got Mike Cargill and Gavino's here. So why don't you tell us? We'll start out by giving us a bio. Tell us who you are. Let's find out
It'll
who
be
you
my
are.
pleasure. My name is Mike McNamara. I'm running for Travis County Judge, and we were on there with you in 2010. It's hard to believe
You've
it's
been on
already
there.
4 years ago, but time has gone by pretty fast. So I did run in 2010. I was born and raised in Austin. I'm a fourth generation Austinite. Went to Travis High School, also St. Ed's. Graduated from Travis in '65, and in '67 I joined the Navy. Spent almost 7 years in the Navy, and got out a little early to go back to college. Got a degree in journalism at that time. I was an electronics technician in the Navy. Over a year in training in electronics, have equivalent of an electronics engineering or electrical engineering associate's degree. So off of that and a journalism degree, I got into technical writing, and I've been doing technical writing in the computer and high-tech industry for almost 30 years, right around there. I've done marketing, I've done technical writing, I've done technical communications, I've done business development. So with the 30 years basically of experience in the industry, I feel like that has helped prepare me for the job of Travis County Judge. Travis County Judge is, they refer to it sometimes as the mayor of the county, but he also sets the agenda and runs the meetings for the County Commissioners Court. They also set the priorities for the budgeting, and they do the budgeting for all the departments within the county. And that's one of my key points that I'd like to talk about as we go down. I've got 2 or 3 key points that I'd like to talk about. But my goal in running is to make sure that, one, that all the residents of Travis County are served and served well, that they don't, that the residents don't feel like one particular single interest group is getting a better deal or getting more attention than another. Also, I want to make sure that when you go to a county commissioner's court, you're treated with respect, and that you're treated that you come out of there feeling like somebody actually listened to what you were saying, because I go down there a lot of times, and it's almost as if there's a curtain in front of you, in between you and the commissioners, and while you're talking, it's as though they were almost, if they're listening at all, it's like they're not listening to you in particular. And a lot of times there's a situation where they'll go into the executive session and come out, and you start talking to them, and you know in your heart that they've already made their mind up about what they're going to do, and you're wasting your time being there. So I feel strongly that there's a way to change the way that the county commissioners do business, and that's one thing I would want to push. You're elected at large from the complete county. You do not have to be an attorney. In fact, I would prefer that you're not an attorney. I really feel strongly that we need to have people that are from the business sector that will work within the structure of the county commissioners court to ensure that everybody who is in business is getting, as I say, a fair shake when they appear before the county.
So what are some of the things that you're interested in changing?
Hold on, talk.
Okay.
I want to see if he's finished first, then I had to bring up something else. Rodney, we proceed. How do you handle people like that?
Well, that's an interesting situation.
My old buddy Rodney, we proceed.
I would like to.
Interesting is, to
I-
say
I-
the least.
Interesting to say that.
I would like to see, I want to look into a different way of handling the way the Commissioners Court is set up. And they have this public input right at the very first. And I do feel like maybe we could change that time to an evening time. I don't think that ought to be the first thing off. A lot of people can't come down to the Commissioners Court during the day, and I want to see why we don't have more of a night meeting. And people have talked about why we don't go out into the different areas within the county to make the county meetings more accessible.
I like that. So,
There's-
Yeah,
so what
that's
you're saying is,
sure.
so doing, instead of doing it at 9 o'clock in the morning,
Come on out
Let's
to Dove Springs
have it at-
Recreation Center and 6:30 at night.
6:30, so people can actually attend while they're, in the evening.
Well, I think we need to open up and look at that.
I like that.
I think we've created a kind of an ivory tower situation that there's not even parking down there. You can't even get in. There's not enough parking for the employees, and I'm very concerned about the short-sightedness of the planning. That now we're having to talk about giving the employees $100 a month to stay, leave your car at home, and ride your bicycle in, and or whatever. And I'm not trying to be critical, but
Real quick, the old place had a bus stop right out in front for handicapped people and
it
people
sure
like
did.
me.
It sure did. Yeah.
It was, it was easy because I can't walk very far. I could
And-
get off the bus, walk over there, and go right in.
And
Come out, cross the street, get on the bus, and go.
so, there's some very practical things like that that just don't make common sense to me, honestly. And of course, a lot of people are very critical about that the county's buying up buildings and land downtown in a high-tax district and taking it off the tax rolls when they could be buying and placing campuses like over in Airport Boulevard where there's plenty of parking, and the investment would be a lot smaller, I would think. So somewhere there's got to be a little more common sense, let's say. That's a more seasoned or reasoned, and I am seasoned. I am not the youngest man that's running, but I certainly have more experience, life experience and business experience.
One more time, now that my wife's in here. You mentioned earlier about it seemed like the curtains go down there. We used to go in there a lot. My wife would always get upset because you talk to them and they just like
Carrying
you-
sunlight in her.
carry the sun out and just stare off into, It was like,
And they all be doing their work and they just like ignore you
Yeah,
at citizens communication.
yeah.
even if you're talking about a legitimate type subject.
Lunatics down there talking about absolutely nothing.
Maybe they're playing
But I always thought that they should give the respect on the dive to actually look
Respect.
at you.
respect,
Pay attention to what you're saying. Because
respect.
you're spending your time down there to go to citizens communication, and you're putting in your input, and they act like you're beneath them, that you're not even worthy.
I couldn't have said it better.
Well, now, like I said, Ronnie Riverseed, that's a whole, we've been gonna get him on the show here anyway. That's a whole other subject. Go ahead. I know Mike was about to ask you something.
Can
Mr.
you-
Cargill, what can I say for you?
Can you name me about 3 different things that you want to focus on if you're elected into office?
In very general terms,
Besides how to keep running Reaper seed out of the,
transportation, public safety, and budgeting priorities and taxation. That's
Okay.
4 things, but
Now, when
they
it-
kind of tie together.
Okay. Now, when it comes to transportation, what are some of the things that the Commissioners Court can actually do as far as transportation in the county?
Well, for one thing, making sure that all the county roads are passable and the bridges are taken care of, that there's a continuing maintenance on the county roads. Hadn't been that long ago that somebody was riding a bicycle on a county road, hit a crack and broke their head open and.
Sued the
because
county?
Sued the county, and of course, the county rolled
Democrat
over.
trial lawyers.
That's a problem for me, that we do roll over a lot of times, but that's just a bare start. I believe it's SH 45 out south that was approved and apparently budgeted for some 16 going on 17 years ago, and somebody put a stop to it along the way. Gerald Darty, Commissioner of Precinct 3, I believe it is, has bought that up again, and I believe it's being pushed forward with the help of Commissioner Todd. Both of the main opponents on the other side have said that they flat will stop it again.
So can the Commissioners Court actually relieve traffic off I-35? Is that something that they can actually focus on?
I don't think so. However, as using, as I say, as the mayor speaking for all residents within the county, I believe that we do need to put some pressure on the state to come up with some solutions for I-35, because it is a horrendous situation, and it becomes not just a transportation issue on a daily basis, but it becomes a public safety issue. And I've mentioned this to people before, that going all the way back to 9/11, when that occurred in New York City, and I'm sitting watching these people just stranded, they can't ride a subway, they can't, get a cab, they can't get in. There's no roads. And Travis Austin is basically locked up when it comes to traffic. There's no good north-south thoroughfare. There's no good east-west thoroughfare.
So what you're saying, if there's an emergency, something happens at the Capitol, where someone actually blows the Capitol up, or something like that, God forbid, you're saying that we could be stuck on I-35 and all stranded and not able to get out of the city.
Somebody, and we tend to think surely somebody has a plan in mind, but I want to know what it is. I want to know what it is.
So there is no emergency plan in this county for something like that?
That's what I want to find out.
Okay.
Now, when we talk about that, we'll go into public safety. That in the last few weeks, I've been attending the Travis County Disaster Recovery Group on a weekly basis, who are come together to work with the folks over in the Onion Creek area, and now they're finding out that folks out in Del Valley have even a worse situation off the Halloween floods. Well, what I'm learning is that there seems to be no cognitive plan, no cohesive plan in between the city and the county for disaster recovery and or disaster planning. When I was in the service in the Navy, we practiced disaster control all the time. It was a necessity, and you knew when you're on that ship, you got nowhere to run. That thing catches on fire or starts taking on water. It's up to you and your buddies to take care of it. Something happened during the Onion Creek flood that just doesn't make sense. One, in being prepared for it. If what I'm hearing now, they're being told they're in harm's way and they need to move, they need to elevate or evacuate, which I think is a pretty coarse thing to tell somebody that's lived there and had their house wiped out.
Right.
But why, if that was the case going into it and they were actually had money set aside to buy people out, why wasn't something done to alleviate the problem beforehand, before the flood ever occurred? Okay, the flood starts.
So we can get together and help, New Orleans when something happens there, but we don't have the resources to help our own people here in the county who are actually paying taxes,
It's fallen on the citizens themselves to take care of the situation, and God bless these people that have come together, and there are people from different sectors of the public government, city and county, but there is nobody who is designated. Go out there and work with them until it's fixed. How do you, and who is pleading our case to FEMA?
So translation, instead of trying to focus on shutting down the gun show, how about working on a plan, and actually stay in your lane on things that you can actually control and fix so this county can grow and be a little better?
Let's look at the
I like that.
immediate problems that we need to solve, and you bring up the gun show. That's an interesting aspect. I do believe that there are people on the county commissioners court that have stepped over the boundaries of what their real assignment is.
Think they're playing
Yeah,
politics?
it's just like the city council, when they pass a resolution on a national issue that they have no power, much less, but they go ahead and do it, to be posturing. So,
Spend that energy to focus on something they have no control over rather than focusing on things they can actually fix and control.
In an immediate situation. Yeah.
It seems, if I could, it seems like down there at Dust Springs, a simple dike or levee would have probably helped that a lot. I mean, if they knew it was gonna flood eventually.
I need to ask probably a crazy, stupid question, but what part of Dove Springs did the water overflow? Was it
Along Onion Creek,
Onion Creek beyond Knuckles Crossing?
uh,
Beyond the bridge, the new bridge they built?
yeah, is on the east side of that bridge. And if you go down Pleasant Valley and you southbound and you cross William Canyon, down in there. We had a lot of pictures of it. It was pretty deep.
Okay, okay.
You know where William Canyon and Pleasant Valley
East,
is?
if I take William Canyon East
Yeah,
all the way past Pleasant Valley,
that's the bridge down
that's
there.
the bridge.
From there back in there, it flooded.
Okay, but it was that water that runs from that
That's
over.
the creek that overflowed. And
So
if
that
you-
was in the 100-year floodplain.
Yeah.
They-
So they didn't expect it, but that's what I'm saying. They
Yeah.
could have just done a simple levee system.
Well, 10 years ago they built that bridge.
Yeah, because the old one got
Because-
washed out
Right,
from
the other one
the
got
20-year
burst. So
floodplain.
this bridge should have been built higher, I guess.
Well, that bridge is okay, the one they built now.
Yeah.
And the attitude
At the
seems
time,
to
they
be-
could have just built a levee or something.
Well, something.
A
and
4-foot levee would have probably done the job.
there seems to be almost a shrug your shoulder and the old stuff happens. Too bad about you living there, and you shouldn't be living there in the first place. But the fact is that these people were living there because it was reasonably priced for them. They were able to get into
It's
it.
a working class
It's their
neighborhood, no
home.
doubt about
Some
it.
of them been living there for 40-plus years. Some of them don't have flood insurance. They weren't required to when they bought in. They've lost everything. Some of them are still living in a shell of a house. Or
Yeah.
They're sleeping on a concrete floor. Some without, they're having to beg, borrow steel heaters and whatnot.
They sure are.
And it was mentioned today as I attended the meeting out in South Austin with some of the folks, out of sight, out of mind, and it should be up to the county and our city working together to keep this in front of the public's eye and keep working to help these folks out. There's a certain government saying about a safety net. Well, for goodness sakes, if I ever heard of need for a safety net, this is it.
So what you're saying is right now, with all the temperatures and stuff that we have, people that were affected by that floods, we still have people that are still
Plug-in heaters.
are needing heaters and
And
they're
dire-
homeless, but they're focusing on the gun show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can
just-
Yeah, they're
get that.
camping out in their
I
homes.
just want to make sure.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure.
The
Okay.
Saxett Gun Show, that was run out of town because of a contract stipulation.
So instead of taking care of people, and actually making sure that people, right now, the temperature's going to drop
That's a
tonight.
good analogy
Yeah,
there.
the
Yeah.
temperature's going to drop tonight, and we have people that are actually cold, that are homeless,
Sleeping on
or
cots and
sleeping on
camping in their
cots and
homes.
things like that, and they're not focusing any attention on that whatsoever.
I haven't heard.
Good job, Travis County Commissioners Court.
And not only that, and being out on the trail, the campaign trail, I'm not hearing any of the other candidates bring it up at all.
Oh,
When-
no, they don't
when
care
the-
about those things they actually can control.
Well, I think the posturing and picture already passed. That was 1 or 2 weeks after the flood.
Yeah,
And
after
everybody
that,
was out there, every
everybody's out there for a long time.
politician that,
As soon as it happened, they went down there to get that photo op,
they get
Yeah.
that photo
stand in front
op
of the
and-
media and get a picture showing them, actually passing,
I also
things
read
out.
that some of the affected folks have already lost their home mortgages, already lost their jobs because of their current situation at
They couldn't get
Well,
to
they
work and stuff like
Either
Couldn't
that
that.
or
get to
they might
work.
have lost their vehicle.
and yeah, and so for this time, and I know when Acevedo came on the show, he asked the viewers to make contributions through the Red Cross for this because the funds that were being directed to the Red Cross were a far cry from any other
Right.
disasters when
And-
they raised funds, and it's sad because it's Austin.
That's my engineer.
Are
There's
you
no,
familiar
no
with
CG and no
Lavoie,
scan.
the Lavoie's newspaper?
La Voz, yeah.
Yeah, well, he comes into the store all the time, and he gave me that newspaper was Where's the Money?
Yeah.
Because I got customers that come in all day long, and they still need the money. You know, they ain't getting their money. And it's really sad what, they
Oh, yeah.
promised all this
And
stuff.
what was promised?
The help, financial help with some of their things, FEMA,
There is money that has been raised, and there is,
the FEMA money.
it's starting, well, I don't know about the FEMA money. I'm talking about
FEMA has
locally,
no money.
I'm talking about locally raised money.
Okay.
And they're working to create channels. There is a
Is that
a
the money
group,
that
as
they're
I say,
saving to build bike lanes?
Could be,
Because what my understanding is they're gonna actually it's gonna cost anywhere from at a minimum $2 million a mile to build a bike lane. It could be like
and they
20
already have
$20
bike
million
lanes on
dollars.
William Cannon in that area, in that neighborhood. They already have bike lanes.
Okay, and that's gonna help the floodplain.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When
Just
I was
checking.
growing up, we didn't even know bike lanes to be riding
Chris.
around.
Sorry about that.
Just
She
checking.
said no CD and no scan, dude. Technically, that means no computer. So we can't put stuff up on the pictures on the screen. So I thought for
But
sure
I
we'd
will
have
have
pictures
your
of it.
website and everything up at the end.
Okay,
And I
thank you
like
very
your
much.
little thingamajig job.
Yeah, he got all the high-tech stuff here, don't he?
One of the things that
What it is.
that we recommended when we were in the commissioner's court, Commissioner De Leon, I was his chief of staff when he was on the court in Precinct 4.
Commissioner De Leon?
Marcus De Leon, I was his chief
Oh,
of
yeah.
staff.
Okay, good.
When we were on the court, one of the things that we recommended to address the traffic flow to I-35 is a sequent release of offices downtown. For example, the state, you get off at 4:30 instead
Some
of
of it's
5.
5:30.
County or the state, you get off at 5.
Right,
So that 30-minute increment or even 15 minutes makes a lot of big difference
sure.
in
sure.
getting. But right now at 5 o'clock, you have everybody
Yeah.
just
And the
exiting.
different starting times as
Diff-
well.
So
And-
you have those staggered, and in big cities, metropolitan cities, they have those kind of release times to address the issues of traffic.
And I don't believe we ever have synchronized our
No.
lights downtown. And
Well-
that would be a simple thing, I would think.
Hold on here now. It seems to me like from 3 to 6 or 7, it's traffic, it's bumper to bumper already. So how's incrementing going to help it? Since rush hour starts at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Here's an analogy that I see where you're taking a perfectly good 4-lane road and restriping it to become a 2-lane road. And it's just bottlenecking the traffic through town. And to me, it's kind of the way that business is treated because you're constricting the flow of
to me-
business instead of
Overflow
enhancing it.
capacity.
And one of the worst things they did, if you go down Guadalupe, right there in front of UT, they shrunk, they moved took a lane
Yes, sir.
away.
Yes, sir.
And did something. They pulled, instead of taking the curb, and taking part of that curb, what they did was they took the road, added a huge bike lane, and then a little huge doohickey for the buses.
Right.
So they actually took away parking,
So
and
they're
they took away a
choking.
lane.
They're
So now
choking traffic.
parking was already terrible at UT
Yeah.
in that area, and now they took away parking spaces, and now they've taken away some of the
And-
lanes and so traffic going down that road is crazy. And then they
Guadalupe-
wonder why someone walks in front of a bus and gets hit.
Yeah, Guadalupe or is it Lavaca that they've taken a full lane for the bus lane, and you can't drive in there, you can't park in it anymore. So they're taking a lot of business parking.
So you have an empty lane going all the way down Lavaca, where one bus goes every
Right.
30 minutes or something like
Right.
that, 15 minutes or
Right.
whatever it is, and then that lane is empty, and then you have all these cars that are on the other 2 lanes So they've completely taken a lane
So
out.
this is just a city though, isn't it?
They made that worse.
Yeah, it is, but nonetheless, it's still residents of Travis County that are getting burned and trying to get in and out. And you know, I'm sorry, these bus and a half that they got now, so they're twice as long, so they're twice as empty. Is that? But you know, in reading it, both in the Chronicle and in the Statesman, and listening to people talk that use the bus system, they're being charged like 150% to get on the mega bus. That's only like 15 to 20 minutes faster than the old bus system was. And now the old bus system is overpacked because nobody wants to pay the extra. And they've cut the number of buses that are running on the old system. So they're basically, it's like they put a toll road in and then they shut down the free road so they can force you over to the toll road. Does that make sense? to understand? And so, and this is what I'm reading in the paper from, as I say, both in the Austin Chronicle and in the Statesman, that people are highly dissatisfied about it, and it seems as though it doesn't matter what makes sense. There's a certain segment that they're trying to please, and one person even wrote it's because they get a lot of federal money to do to implement these programs.
Are we finished with public safety, flood?
Where do you want to go from here?
I
Public
guess
safety,
we're on
flood?
transportation. I would like to know, I know transportation is a problem, now especially out in the county, these county roads, coming from trucks. I know what it's like to take these overloaded trucks, and I want to go all these back roads so as, avoid the cops.
Hey, don't interrupt me in mid-sentence.
Did I interrupt you in mid-sentence? I thought you were about finished.
Have no
Is
idea.
that so y'all can make more money? And
Yeah.
Shortcuts.
Shortcuts and you avoid the cops. But you get on some of them bridges, a 5-ton bridge, you hear the 18-wheeler overloaded, going across it.
Well, one of the things is my
Good
interest
business.
in the budgeting and how the budget is run every year, and what I've learned and what I've studied is that and in fact it's been brought up again. Gerald Doherty is working on it with Bruce Todd, that they're looking at the budget. Gerald, Commissioner Doherty did put in another budget with a lower budget, and reading what he had written at the time, basically he's saying every year that they can forecast how much more money they need to meet the requirements, and it is also based on new building, and they get a ratio, a tax ratio they come up with, and they say, okay, we can take this amount of money from new building, and that'll be new taxes coming in, and we can take what we spent last year and add a little bit to it, and that'll be what our budget is. But apparently, for the last several years, they've gone beyond and above that. And so they're budgeting above what they need and increasing the taxes as they go. And he's saying we need to stick with what we actually require, not what we want, but what we need. And that, I'm very much in favor of that. I've heard some of the state legislators even talking about, like on a state basis, using what they call a zero-based budget, which means every year you start from scratch and you add up what you need and you go in and make your case instead of just adding on and adding on. I also know one of the justices of the peace has actually in the last 2 cycles reduced what he's been asking for, which is unheard of. But it is possible, and I believe that's where we need to be. Here's a situation where, again, down at the county commissioner's court.
And that JP may actually save the county, since they're going to lose over $100,000 since they
Since
want to shut down the gun show.
So did they shut down the gun show?
Well,
I've heard-
refuse the contract, refuse renewing the
Well,
contract.
now, which is a good question. My understanding was they actually did sign a contract, but it had this
Stipulation.
particular stipulation, which was illegal, basically.
Well,
Right.
couldn't they go to the convention center?
They could
Austin
go,
Convention
yeah, sure they
It's
Convention
too
can.
expensive.
Well,
That'd be too expensive. That's way more than out there at
the
the
county expo.
expo center.
Yeah, so, and so anyway, there's gonna be a loss of revenue, and it's not just the rental It's all of these folks that come into town that buy gas, that buy food, that use the hotel rooms. Over 200, I think, vendors there. Those are independent businessmen. That might not be their only business, but a lot of them it is their only business.
Right.
And they're not selling guns. They're selling clothing. They're selling jewelry. They're selling imported materials. I saw one guy that was selling things from Russia. It's fascinating if you ever go to one of these.
And they're paying
Yeah.
some of
And
that-
walk
those
around.
taxes too.
And they're paying taxes.
I used
when
to
they
buy a lot of
sell.
books down there.
They're
Clean books?
reading materials.
Yeah,
Clean books,
Training
Oh, yeah.
materials.
clean books.
yeah, Lord.
But if you know, if they want to help themselves on the budget, you know, I'm just a businessman. You know, so forgive me. You know, I'm not. You know, I guess I'm not savvy and not smart enough. But what I would do is I would actually use some of the funds, you know, that they're using on all some of these other things, like $2 million on a 1 mile stretch of road to build a bike lane. I would actually use some of that money to pay for your big trucks, your 18-wheelers, to actually take the toll road, and let them, you know, ride on that toll road and force them to actually take the loop around the city and forbid them to actually drive through the city. There are major cities in this country that you're not allowed to drive through that major city with the
We
18-wheeler.
talked about that last time.
Yeah.
But,
So what they should do is actually let them go around the city and take the toll road and actually pay for them to take the toll road, and that will relieve so much traffic.
That
But you
will
know,
do a
but
lot to
forgive
relieve
me,
traffic right there.
I'm only a businessman. I'm not smart enough for the elected officials.
I forget, did they know, if I can real quick, what percentage of those 18-wheelers on 35 are going through town? I think like 80 or 90% of them.
Yeah, and they're
None
all
of them are
going,
stopping here.
they're all going through when I'm trying to get through.
They're all going, they're going through 24/7.
They're always there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And if they could get on that loop, they do it
And-
because
and
they hate
God
the
bless
traffic,
them,
but they're not
because
gonna pay that kind of
You
money.
can route them
Well,
on that toll
it's
road.
your
and
governor
and
that put
use some of
that
those funds.
Fee out there.
Now, I gotta knock my governor
Your
up.
governor's the one that wanted to create this toll road from,
You'd be surprised how much
There
traffic
was,
that would relieve off
some
of
of the other side there
I-35.
too,
Then-
because me and
then-
Kirk Watson been over
and
that.
then them Spaniards backed out, or somebody backed out, and
Well,
it
there
became
was,
fiction. Oh,
I seem to remember one state senator and he's still saying that it's all working the way it's planned to.
That sounds like Kirk Watson.
I think that might have been his name, but then we were sold, you know, and it's kind of a bait and switch thing. We were told that was going to relieve traffic on I-35,
Yep.
and it just hadn't done it. But I believe he was involved in the hospital district as well.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, that's a county
And
issue.
that, you know, I've
they're
had a
so
lot
busy.
of people talk to me about
They're
that.
so busy trying to line their pockets, you know, with, you know, special interests and stuff like that. They really don't care about actually, you know, the common person.
And I've got friends that are involved in that, and you know, in high places, so to speak. I mean, but the fact is, when that hospital district tax fund was set up, or taxing entity was set up, it was set up to provide for indigents that were coming in from outside the city, I believe, or outside even the county, and to take care of their
medical
hospital.
needs.
Yeah. And people go, well, you know, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But nowhere was it said that we were going to build a major training hospital.
Or a Taj Mahal for their administration on Cesar Chavez.
Is that what it is?
Yes, it's a Taj Mahal. The restrooms are like $1,000 each.
Holy
Each
cow, I
commode
wanna
you
go
sit
do
on,
that down
yeah.
there.
Oh
Well,
man.
The you know, and people are so fed up with the bait and switch.
We opposed the district when it went on the ballot. We opposed
I
it
got no
adamantly.
problem
You mean
with
LULAC
the training
did?
hospital. I like that idea. I like the idea. What I don't see, and it's kind of like when F1 came into town, what I don't see is what the immediate
Return would be?
help for the local folks is going to be. The return. You know, and when I look at you can get a book of lists here in Austin, and it lists all of the top, from top down, of the nonprofits and the education centers. And guess who's at the top? Seton and University of Texas. They're not hurting for.
Oh no.
for-
Well,
and
not
yet-
only
and
that.
yet we're asking
still
the
gotta pay for it.
taxpayers to.
Well, not
to
only
pay.
that, here in Travis County, we were asked to foot the bill for a medical school or medical hospital. Yet in the valley, it was done without the taxpayers.
So
You know.
as a Travis County judge, you know, I would have to weigh in and say, wait a minute, you know what? And this is again, going back, I got distracted a bit, but down at the county courthouse, there was a young lady there, a female African American, who was talking about her husband's mother's property over on the east side, where the property tax jumped like 65%. And she said that
That's
it's
to
gonna
pay
be,
for that's to pay for that road. You know, that's to pay for that bike lane.
it just it's untenable, and whether you lay it off to
Probably lived there all her life.
gentrification. Well, her folks, it's legacy property. I refer to it as legacy property, and they want to keep it in the family, and they want to keep it as a rent property. But it's extremely hard for them. And they've been to my house and sat down and talked about it, and we visited, and she's actually putting together a group to fight the rising costs of taxes in East Austin because of the gentrification.
The problem is we have 1 million residents in Travis County. Out of the 1 million residents that we have 600,000 registered voters. Out of 600,000 registered voters, in our last election, only 10% of those registered voters came out and voted.
That's
In
an
the election
excellent
before
point.
that one, only 14% came out and voted. All they got to do is come out and vote.
We've got to,
Stop.
and
Why, you know, and
I don't know. Sometimes I think we might be better off without. Look who
Well,
they elect.
Well, I mean, exactly. You're putting.
Oh, yeah, maybe you're right. If they come out and vote, we might could get rid of.
Exactly, because we're putting the same people in office every single term, the same type of people, and we're coming up with the same results. There's still traffic on I-35. Traffic is still getting worse. Your taxes are still going up, but we're putting the same people in office. We're doing the same thing, but we're actually expecting different results. And I think, what do they call that? Insanity.
you know,
Insanity?
Well, it's just like
Dumbass.
every bond measure that's been put before us in this community, it's passed.
Damn near until
You
this
know.
very last one, they defeated two of them.
And, you know,
yeah.
and every time we pass a bond election, that means everybody.
Property taxes is going up.
Property tax going up,
What did
people are
our,
moving
what did our
out.
favorite county commissioner tell us right here on this show?
Yep,
What's that?
Margaret Gomez, every time you vote yes for a bond, you just voted for a tax increase.
there you go.
well, and that's
She didn't even hide it, just flat out told us.
well, and people don't always understand that. And one of the key things, do you realize that our local government debt in the state of Texas is second only to that of New York State? And people just they don't realize because they're
Whoa, so you're saying Austin?
not
or Travis
Austin,
County?
not Travis County, but the state as a whole.
Okay.
Okay, now I've started doing some research on local government in the county. I didn't bring the information with me, but I'm getting the information together. But when you add the county and the city and the ACC and the hospital district, and our local debt is hanging around our neck, but it's also being handed down to our sons and daughters and our grandchildren.
And I remember reading something where, like in Austin, you know, the Austin's economy, not Austin's economy, but the amount of money that we're spending here in Austin is almost as greater as like Dallas and Houston, if not more.
We're and the county is up there with the big guys.
Right.
But again, that's not adding in the
And
city.
Austin is a smaller city, you know, of all your major cities in the state of
Right,
Texas,
right.
and we're spending way more money.
and part of the thing that I like I say I
Must be
have a
nice.
problem about the county buying up properties, buying up land, either to protect water, protect a bird, or protect a lizard, or whatever. And I love animals. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
You know, geckos are our friend, and they eat the yeah. But I don't have a problem with that. But when you put that above the needs of the people and above the needs of the business to keep growing, we, as well as we're doing as a state, we still are not where we need to be as far as jobs go, especially here in Travis County.
What's your thinking on consolidation of governments? Maybe 15, 20 years ago, we went through a process called Amigo. I don't know if you remember that. Austin Metropolitan Government. And it talked about creating a metropolitan government like they do in Florida, in Dade County.
So you'd have like the Metropolitan Police
Police
Department.
instead of APD,
And Travis
fire, APD, ACC, AI, everyone has a police force. UT, you know, you would
You just
consolidate
want
all
Metro
that.
Police
Metro Police,
Same thing
government.
with fire and
as long
EMS,
as
I
that,
guess.
as long as that Metro Police Chief is that's an elected position, I would love that.
Yeah,
As
and,
long as
and
it's an
in
elected
Portland,
position.
you know, most of our liberals around this community look at Portland that that's the way we need to live and da. Well, in that city, not only is the police or the chief or whatever is elected, but also the department heads are elected.
Wow,
Okay. So, but I don't know if you looked into that, but what's your feeling about consolidation?
I've heard some people bringing that up, and I'd have to do some research on it. You know, of course, we have so many fiefdoms, and nobody wants to turn loose of their own piece of the pie, and I think it'd be a big struggle. But here's the deal: I believe that, like the 10-1, to have that passed and coming forward, it shows me a huge dissatisfaction with the local government. The
Oh,
way
big
local
time.
government's
That's
being
why
run.
it
So and
passed overwhelmingly.
I'm told, and you know, I'm very aware of the fact that, you know, there's a 60-40 split every time that we vote in Travis County, and my feeling is I'm an optimist. I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't, but I also feel very strongly that there's a huge dissatisfaction with the way that county government's being run. I hear it from people, you know, come up to me and say, "Well, I'm a Democrat, but I'm not happy with where we're at. This is an open seat, and there's a need for a different mindset and a different skill set."
We need to stop putting the same people in office every single election and getting the same results, and we're actually making it worse. We need to put some different people in office and get these old people out of there. Sarah Eckhart does not deserve, she should not be our county judge.
Well, there's you know, and I'm not going to go into, but there has to have been some dissatisfaction about that. She should have been the heir apparent, and yet the powers that be brought up a candidate to run against her, and I don't know how that's going to turn out. But as I say, of all the candidates that I know about, I'm the only one that's got 30 years of business experience, and I'm
They're
ready
both
to put
lawyers.
that to work.
If people do not pay attention on this election, and they let these other people get into office, the same people that would not come on this show to stand up and answer to the people,
That's
to
right.
be able to answer questions about what they've done, because they are elected officials who are in office right now, could not come on this show to answer, you know, some of the things that they've done. We should not put these people back in office, and if you don't pay attention, I'm telling you now, you're going to lose some things that you hold dear to yourself.
February the 18th is the first
Early voting.
early voting begins.
Yes, sir.
February the 18th.
Already?
And
Yes.
I implore everybody to go vote, and we've just got to. You know, God bless them over in Iraq. Those folks are going through pure DH, and yet they'll turn out 98% to go vote.
That's
They'll
true.
go over there and stand in line and get blown up, and they'll still
Well,
go back.
They'll still go back and vote.
They'll
should-
still go
and
back.
And they'll walk around and show everybody their blue finger.
And if you're a veteran, you better get out and vote, because that's one of the next things they're going to do. They're actually going to come to the veterans and say, "Oh, you're coming back from Iraq, you're coming back from Afghanistan, and you've experienced some things over there, and we don't think when you come back here, you should have your gun. But we'll send you back to Iraq and Afghanistan, but we don't want you to have your gun here." I'm telling you right now, they're already talking about it in the
Yeah.
Austin City Council. I'm telling you now, you better wake up.
Talking
smell
about
the
it at the
coffee.
VA too.
Here's the thing, and this is something I've been thinking about for a while. These same people, the folks, the mindset that has brought us the calamity that we have, which is traffic in the Austin roads, are the same people that are telling us that they know how to fix the problem. And I just don't agree with that. As in the same folks that told us that, you know, we got to quit using these paper bags, we're killing trees. Here, take these plastic bags. They're the same people that are now telling us that, hey, you can't use those plastic bags anymore, so what are we going to do? We're going to go back
So what you're saying is those same people that force us into the plastic bags announced that
Forcing us out of
the
them.
plastic bags. Okay, the same people we've been voting into office for the last 10, 15, 20 years. Same people that have been in office. Exact same names.
And talking about going out to vote and getting your message out, especially if you own a gun and you love gun shows you better go out there and vote, because unless you go out there and vote, it's not gonna happen
Is
to
that,
make that change.
which hat you wearing now? Is that the LULAC
No,
hat
no,
you got
no.
on? Or? There's
I'm
no
just
hat at
saying-
all, huh?
I'm
That's
just saying,
common
if it's a
sense.
motivating issue
That's
That's
right.
true.
for someone to go
That's
vote,
right.
because if it's an issue that
You ain't gonna wear several hats. You
that-
gotta find out which
that-
one to wear.
that
what
create, that it did create that financial disenfranchisement,
Yeah.
well then, yeah, you better go out there and vote. And not only you go out there, but you take a handful of your vote,
Yeah,
of
better
folks
get
to
your,
go out
you
there
better
and
get your
vote.
neighbors out there too.
So,
man.
and,
Don't
and
go. You're gonna wind up like New York.
Yeah,
well,
because that's
ah,
that's the democratic process we have in our country, and how to grieve or if you're dissatisfied
That's
with
right.
a certain policy or a certain candidate, is you walk into that
And-
box and you to that poll, and no
and-
one knows how you're gonna vote except yourself.
unfortunately, over the years, in the last couple of decades, the way that voting has gone, you want to take that? I'm busy. I-
Oh, yeah, that's party.
If we
No.
look at things, over the years, we basically have individuals who have a different
Robocall.
mindset, let's say, that they have lost the incentive to go vote. They don't feel that it will make any difference if they go vote, and there's good reason.
Here's a
for
good
that.
reason why you should go vote. Okay, we've actually had a state representative that was elected into office on the south part of this county by 4 votes. Okay, 4 votes. That's one household.
Not my buddy Eddie.
I'm just saying, if you do not get out and vote, one household could possibly make a difference. You know, you need
Absolutely.
to get out and vote. You'd be surprised how close
And-
some of
and-
these elections
and,
go.
Recently, we had a gentleman who lost by, when it was all said and done, by 6 votes against an incumbent. So, you know, and I was told by a legislator that, well, you know, in Travis County, you gotta start with 1,500 votes in the box. And I'm going, wait a minute, how do you do that?
Yeah, I like that idea.
Everybody
Make
knows
sure
that-
I start that way, but not him.
I've been working in local politics since 1977, 78. I've been working in city council campaigns. I've been an election judge. I've been a clerk. I've been a candidate.
You've been active all I've known you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you know, and here's what I honestly
You throw
believe.
nice parties,
It's
too.
now time for me to step up
All right.
and take the lead.
All right.
And so I'm here to offer myself in opposition to the current situation, regardless who the person is.
So the voters in November, when they go to those polls, they'll have a choice
Yes, sir.
of the
Yes.
same, or something new, something fresh, something more modern, if you will,
I'm a fourth
and
generation
fiscal
Austinite.
conservative.
Someone who's sick of
Maybe
seeing, you know,
common sense. Let's
and,
go.
and common sense as well,
Yes,
you
sir.
know.
And I will listen. My heart is open. My ears are open. And I say that to having spoken with the Black Lawyers Association and the Hispanic Bar Association the other night, and then Saturday with a network of Asian Americans. I'm game for. You know, they say, well, we got this problem. I said, well, bring it on. Let's sit down.
I think the
Let's
last
talk.
Republican judge was Mel Rempro, or was Mel?
Travis County, according to the reporter, Travis County's never had one.
No, since Reconstruction. which
A
I believe
Republican
what they're
judge?
trying to say is it's time for a change.
Yeah.
The reference to Reconstruction is interesting because that's basically about the time frame when my folks came here. My great-grandfather was stationed here in the United States Army. And
He was a Yankee?
He was 20-plus years. No, he was an Irish.
Good boy. They were on both sides in that war.
They were fighters, and we are fighters, and that
Anyway,
probably
enough
another
history.
reason. I have never done anything the easy way, and people look at me and say, "You're crazy." You know, you have to be crazy to do it. No, well, okay. You know, there's gradients of crazy that lead into courage, and when you see something that you have to go fight for, whether you believe that you're going to get your butt kicked or you're going to win, you still go and fight.
One of the things I've mentioned to Pokey's party is that, like you mentioned, there's very little incentive for people to go out and vote. But on the other hand, there's very few Republican candidates that go into our communities asking for our vote. You know, spending money in our communities to get the vote out.
Yes.
Because it's a low voter turnout community, and because the candidate is low on funds, you know, they target a lot of their funds where high areas where people do turn out to vote.
And you'd be surprised how many actually Republican voters you have in those communities.
Oh, you'd be, oh
they
yeah.
just-
But the fact is, that is,
That's
that
right.
is a
And yeah,
true statement.
There are a
That
lot.
is a
There
true
are a
statement.
lot of Republican voters in those areas, and they
Marilyn Jackson is one we've discussed before.
I sit down and
That's why
I talk.
they didn't do more to help her.
I talk to a lot of people in the community, and they're actually afraid to even tell people that they're Republican. You know,
Sure.
I don't know why. You know,
That's
but
right.
there are
'Cause,
a
you know,
lot,
in a neighborhood
a lot of
that's-
conservatives,
Yeah.
a lot of conservatives in this area.
And they believe that they're discarded or they're not, you know, and that goes to this line that's being tossed out there.
Yeah.
Well, you know, a GOP candidate has not won that position
But
since
it can be
Reconstruction.
done, because I tell the
It
old war,
absolutely can be done.
I tell the old war story that when my grandparents were voting back in the 60s, Senator Tower was a Republican, and he had a lot of Latino voters, Mexican American, that
My family has worked with the Mexican Americans, has both on the border. As a kid, I went to Del Rio, man. Uncle had a bakery and a farm there, and my mother was a single parent. My dad died when I was like 5 years old, so she had to. I would go get on the bus. I'm like, 12, 13, whatever, or I'd catch a ride with a cousin, and off we'd go to Del Rio, and I'd be out there, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks riding on the back of the tractor with Pablo. Pablo would come over Monday morning, and he had a place there to stay in the barn, and he'd work all week, and then, the weekend he'd go back home. And I love that guy, but I learned how to drive, I learned how to,
Is there
all of that.
anything the county can do about the immigration thing? That's just completely out there. Since you talk about, because I remember how you used to, you could come across the border easily, going either way.
It was totally
Come to
different.
work.
It was a totally different lifestyle.
Go back home to Mexico and,
But what I was going to lead into, and again, with the Asian Americans, and when my family had the bakery here, my mother and daddy were down there helping Lung's Chinese Kitchen open up. So I mean, the Irish have always, when my great grandfather moved here, he had to set his business up on the east side of what is now I-35 on the other side of, and I don't know if that was a happenstance or because it was a property he could get into.
Yeah.
Now, what
So
what
there's
I have
always
a,
been, so,
and I have a question for you.
Okay.
What are some things that you think should be addressed in this race, in your race, with your opponents, that's not being addressed right now?
that's good, because we're coming up on the 5-minute mark, so.
You
well,
probably have to keep it
well,
kinda
one of them we
short.
touched
Yeah.
on a little bit, of immediate concern to me is the disaster control situation. What happens when we have another flood? What happens if we have a major, and we're having major apartment fires, and what kind of situation, who do we have in place that's supposed to oversee that and
What if we
provide
have a
feedback?
real live winter event?
Well, I guess that
We've
this,
seen this out
That's-
without, with
that's-
just a little bit of icing.
So I mean, that's one that's very,
yeah.
that's right in front of us. I can talk about, as you say, there's not much you can do about traffic, except we do have a situation where there's a road out south that's been planned for some time and needs to be
They can
done.
sit down and have a real conversation with the state of Texas. They can sit down and have a real conversation
The county can
with
do that?
city council and take up, like I suggested, and take some of those funds and have some of those trucks go around the city. And there are other things that they can do, many other things that they can do. So if they really want to do something, they can actually have a real conversation and do something about it. But they're
There's
playing games. They need to get their head out of the three-point of
Intergovernment
contact.
Well,
council
5
or
minutes, so-
something like that. So you're exactly right. One thing that comes to mind when the Formula One track was being considered, my reaction to that was, why wasn't the county on top of this from the get-go?
Better yet, when they came up with the plan for the Formula One, look how well traffic is being handled for the F1 race. There is no traffic in this city during that race. We have so many people in this county, in this city, when they have that race going on. They have a UT football game, you got
Yeah.
the race going on. There is no traffic whatsoever. They are handling every single intersection like they're supposed to handle it. But they do nothing when it comes to rush hour traffic at 5 o'clock or morning traffic in the morning. They can handle traffic in this county, in
Yeah.
this city, if they
Be-
really want
because
to.
when
They
F-
aren't doing shit, excuse my
relationship-
French, to do
We
anything about
don't
traffic.
have a good working
Right.
relationship
When F1
with the
is
local
here,
government.
downtown, they have police on the street,
When they want to,
Direct
and
traffic.
they have APD as ambassadors for the city. Yet when they come to East Austin, all that fades away. that ambassadorship role, that, you know, public,
I've never
approach.
understood talking about, and my family used to live on East 11th, and that's where their business was. But when the beautification began along this corridor, 7th and 11th, what was it they said? Well, they didn't like it because it doesn't look good when people are coming in from the airport. It wasn't about doing something for the people that live there.
That's the
so,
truth, yeah.
There's just some fundamental things, and I would, as a quote mayor of the county, as Travis County judge, represent this county and its constituents to the state government and to the city in a manner that would be, let's say, more conducive to represent all the people of the county, not just a certain special interest group. I think we're getting shortchanged, and one of the things too, I would love to talk more about what kind of jobs we're bringing into Travis County that are not, and I bring this up, I've worked in high tech, I've worked in computers, but not everybody's cut out for that. You need some jobs where guys, I talked about this when I was running before, real jobs for real people. Kind of jobs that a guy can go in and get an on-the-job training, roll his sleeves up, go build something. You know, I don't care if it's furniture or desks or whatever, but something that somebody can use and learn and come home and say, by golly, I did something today I did it with my hands, I did it myself. And
I like that. Well, you got a minute left, so say something.
I'm just getting on a roll.
I just want to, I have 1 minute, can I just mention?
Go ahead, make an announcement.
Okay, the announcement is the Travis County Mexican American Democrats had their endorsement meeting,
Yeah,
and for judge, they endorsed Sarah Eckert. For County Commissioner Precinct 2, they endorsed Mr. Brown. County Precinct 4 Commissioner Margaret Gomez, and for Treasurer, Ortega Carter, for treasurer again, for her reelection. So that's what the endorsements they made for this coming election.
Yeah, 30
February
seconds.
18th is the first day to start voting. We ask the Trailer Park Show everyone to go vote, regardless of how they're going to vote. We want them to be educated voters, but make sure you go out there and vote and not stay home.
Go to votemcnamara.com and check out my website. And my phone number's in there, my email's in there, and I'd be happy to chat with anybody that wants to get in touch with me.
VoteMcNamara.com. Thank you, folks. We will not be here next week. We'll be back the week after that.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
It's been a pleasure.
Adios.
Is that it?
Yeah,
Adios.
he goes off at, oh, no, 58:30. We got another minute.
We got another minute?
Oh, do we?
Okay.
I
okay.
missed did my stuff there, didn't I?
We have been working and been progressing real well on the parade and the education summit.
We got a minute.
Okay.
And, you know,
Oh, that's right. We have our stuff coming up.
we have Univision hopefully coming on board to promote the education summit and the parade.
And the parade, both.
And so
You're not going to be on TV, so.
we've
Oh,
been
30
getting
seconds.
a lot of good feedback from that. You came to our parade last year.
I
Yeah,
think
he
I
was
did.
there.
Yeah, you were there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you sure
All
were.
right, hold on.
Da, da.
Happy
Happy
birthday
to
to
you. Happy
birthday.
Happy
Happy birthday, Sir Squinty Eyes, Gavin Stone, and the fabulous mama.
And he's still
and
squinting today.
Rick Luna. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Rick Luna.
Yeah, Rick Luna, don't forget that too. All right, folks.
See you in 2
Now I
weeks.
said, all right,
Thank you
bye-bye.
very much.
You got it, what, 57:30, it's 58:30. How did I screw that up? Hey, I'm really losing it here.
What you got in that oxygen violin?
Either not enough or too much.